Welcome to SerialPodcastNine, a podcast about cars mostly, and drifting, and trips to go drifting, movies maybe, car shows, wheels, suspension components, like the premium suspension components found at SerialNine.com. You'll also find fully sick shift knobs, limited run custom steering wheels, bushings, hats, shirts, and much more. Get yours now at SerialNine.com. You're likely also to hear about buying and selling weird JDM cars, scooters, Tesla peasants, fully sick wheel fitment, BMW headliners, power window and blinker speeds, beers, cameras, and probably some dad jokes starring Gerard D. Don't Ask Dumb Questions Peralta, Kevin Tire Pressure Problems Peterson, and the host with the most percentage of beer, Ryan Bring Me My Craft Beer Benoit.
And then we can banter, and then you can.
Well, what are we talking about? Are we talking about this?
Well, I have.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we just have to say the intro.
Can you hear
Hi,
me?
I'm Kevin Peterson.
Too loud. Je m'appelle Gerard.
Gerard, yes.
And I'm Ryan Benoit, and this is Serial Podcast 9.
Serial Podcast 9.
Episode.
Serial. Okay. Sorry.
What are you doing? Every time is like your first time. You're like Madonna. For the love of God. Episode 82. Here we are. We're doing it. That's great. Hey, you two. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm a little stuffed up.
Good. Oh,
Let's bring some energy. Hey, Ryan, how's it going? I'm doing great tonight. How about yourself?
I know. I'm just really happy to be here. I think we played 100%. We really gave it our best. In the second half there, we really came together,
it's a team sport. Just good to get out there, really hustle. And sometimes the other team gave it a little bit more than we did. But in the end, we pushed back real hard. And that's what you like to see out there, So just real happy to be part of the team.
And, some of us played harder than others. But, that's just how it goes. I guess, some people are.
I feel like you've never been on a team, Gerard.
What do you mean?
That is like your attitude.
I am on a team. You know what the team is? Team fucking Gerard. Team G. Yeah.
Who else is on Team G?
There's no G in team.
Else.
There's no G in team, okay?
It's G.
Who else is on Team G?
There's Gerard and then there's G. So there's basically G is the guy who's like, he's the all-star, he's cool. And then there's Gerard who's like, man, who the fuck are you? You think you're so cool. Like, enough already, bro. There's it's two people, It's two people on
There's
Team
a lot to this joke has turned into a lot to unpack, which I don't like. I can't even right now. All right, well, good. Hey, so we got two options. We could go ahead and we could get into Gerard's topic because a while ago, Gerard did a bunch of Adderall and he came up with ideas for the podcast, and now we're committed to it. So I'm very excited. Or we can field some questions. What would you like to do first?
Lay it out, Jerry.
I don't know. Let's take some questions from the listeners. Hey, everybody, thank you for listening. We really appreciate you supporting us after all these episodes. Writing your questions. I know I don't promote the podcast very much on social media, but we really do appreciate you listening. And if you want to hear some topics, hey, have at her. Message me, Gerard, at SerialNine. That's me. Don't message Ryan, because he always fucks up your name when he reads the question. And then Kevin doesn't really care either way, so just message me because I'm the man. And, Team G, woo woo!
I would like to play back the part where people did message you and then you forgot, and then we spent a long time with you being like, oh, damn, I was supposed to answer that question.
I'll find it.
Is what I really want to do. Yeah, I'll find it. Oh, man. All right. So, yeah. If you want to get tons of BMW videos, message Gerard. If you want to get your question on air, message Ryan. That's the takeaway. Right, here we go. We're going to do questions first. Alex Hawley reached out, and he said, hey, Ryan, last couple episodes of the podcast have been very funny and entertaining. Really enjoyed different levels of suspension mods. As someone who's slowly crawling through the beginning of level 3, with bushings and RCAs, I have a question that may or may not be interesting to ask Kevin and Gerard. Question: is there a sweet spot in terms of suspension mods for a street car that's occasionally taken to the track, as far as where you're getting a good amount of performance without too much sacrifice of comfort?
There is actually.
And
Kevin, you want to answer this, or you want me to answer?
I mean, I feel like it's a sliding scale to all people, though. Like what you're willing to accept and drive it and daily and call it a daily is different to everybody. But yeah, I would think that like you can upgrade the bushings to make them stiffer. That's going to help you without taking away some of that niceness that you're trying to maintain. But I feel like there's definitely a sweet spot. But I don't know.
I mean, you definitely on your crown,
is.
you've definitely sort of been dialing it back a bit on the crown now that you're maybe older or more like discerning, if you will, or whatever.
I'm honestly just like trying to use the like keep it simple, stupid mantra on that car and just only do the things that I actually need to do when I actually need to do them, and not just do everything just to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, so I guess a fairly good example would be the Blit. That is sort of my daily car when I, drive it every day versus a truck. It's kind of a double-edged sword because, like, I would say the bushings are a good upgrade for sure. But a big key to any sort of drivable, nice daily car are the coilovers. I'd say the biggest factor in my world would be the coilovers. It doesn't matter what else you do to the car as far as bushings, arms, links, RCAs, anything. But if you have, shitty coilovers, it's going to suck no matter what you do. You could have good coilovers and really none of the other stuff even matters because the coilovers are so good. Even if the car is super stiff and like has all these, solid bushings and stuff, if the coilovers are, really good, it's going to ride infinitely better than a stock car with shitty coilovers or a modded car with shitty coilovers. Anyways, all that said, I mean, we could recommend some brands, I guess, of coilovers. Definitely like a good go-to would be Stance or Reinhardt or whatever. That's kind of been our go-to for literally the past like 2 decades. We started using Fortune Auto recently. I've tried a couple different sets of theirs. I'm on some custom valve 510s right now, and I think they're amazing. Definitely can go very, very harsh, but when you dial them back, they're actually pretty comfortable. But I had some 500s for a while, and those were ultra, super, super smooth, super comfortable. One of the most comfortable coilovers I've ever been on. But when you want to dial it up, I definitely felt like they were a bit lacking. So the thing with bushings, like say, I guess we're talking about like polyurethane bushings replacing rubber. They don't necessarily make the car harsher, if you will. They don't necessarily make the car more unpleasant to drive, because what they sort of do is they transfer the energy more directly into the coilover versus like absorbing it. Obviously a car with soft everything is going to be like really sort of soft and comfy. Take an LS400, for example, or Celsior. Everything's rubber mounted softly. Everything's super smooth. You drive over anything and you don't feel it. But I mean, at the same time, that's really comfortable as far as luxury goes, but it's not really comfortable as far as like, wanting to feel the road or like, turning into a corner and the car just sort of rolls over on itself. And, it's kind of a balance, right? So bushings, I think, are good. Anything that's solid, I would probably, you don't really notice the arms, to be honest. My thing, 100%, don't get solid diff bushings. If you have solid subframe bushings, I think you could run solid subframe bushings, but you have to have isolated drivetrain. And then if you're going to do engine mounts, definitely do the softest engine mounts you can. Because I did that in the Blit. I put our sport engine mounts in and instantly wanted to kill myself. And I also had the solid diff bushings in with the engine mounts, and it basically completely ruined my street car. I was like, this is fucked. I can't stand this.
I think it was mostly regarding suspensions, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like it is a it's a slippery slope though. You're like, oh, I want to, like I want to make it better, and like I want to, make it like feel more like direct, and then all of a sudden you're just like, now it's too much.
Yeah, and I mean,
I feel like that's like every car guy knows that. There's like there's like memes.
I don't think so,
it's
man.
like, I modified. Yeah, no, it's fully. It's like, I modified the daily so much. Now I need to go buy another daily. Like that's just what people do. You know what I mean? Like that's like.
And I mean, that kind of ties into that subject that we were sort of maybe going to talk about today, is like what not to do to your first car or your car. Like what, like it is directly tied into that. Like it's really easy to go too far, especially like if you're into modding, if you're into cars, you're into buying parts and shit. You just want to buy every part. You want to put everything on the damn car. And it's like all of a sudden the car's fucked and you need another daily, right? So Yeah, I would say get the best coilovers that you can afford, and then just replace everything that's worn out. Anything that has play or anything that has slop is going to be terrible as far as, like imagine you want the best version of whatever car it is that you're driving.
I should add a disclaimer at the end. So disclaimer number 1 is that keep in mind it's Gerard. So Gerard is very sensitive to all things in an automobile. So as Kevin mentioned in the beginning, it is a scale, and that is fair. So what bothers Gerard might not bother a Kevin or a Ryan. So that is very much. I can't think of a better analogy right now. So Gerard, you're like the princess and the pea, the mattress and has like the one thing, and you're like, I can't do this. A lot of people can live with something. And then the second thing is, I know I wasn't asked, but I'm going to say it's just it's an equation. X is the thing that makes it that you're like, whoa, it's like gone too far. And then it's -1. So whatever the thing is that's gone too far, and then -1. That's what you do when you know that you've gone too far. The point, actually, a question would be, has anyone other than Gerard ever upgraded it and then dialed it back after and been like, actually, I'll just go back to the stock part? Like, is that a thing that people you think do?
I think so, man.
Has Gerard done that though?
Yeah, I don't know. The Blit's the only car.
Yeah,
keep in mind. Keep in mind, like you say, it is a sliding scale. It's all subjective. Like the Blitz still has a twin plate clutch. It still has engine mounts. It still has polyurethane subframe bushings, all solid arms. AK-49s, 10 degrees of camber. Super wide wheels, super low, and that's a quote unquote daily. You know what I mean? So like, I think for a lot of people, that's probably not their idea of like a comfortable daily car. But you can get away with a lot with Toyotas though, honestly, man. Like they're so kind of shitty from the factory. You could probably change every single part, maybe just save for the engine mounts and the diff bushings. And it doesn't feel that much far off from like you drive a stock BMW and the thing's stiff. It's like kind of like, everything is already kind of like dialed. Like for example, my 130i was probably tighter and stiffer than the Blit with all the shit done to it almost. Like only after I did the solid tension rod bushings and the polyurethane LCAs, then the front end felt actually like really, really good and tight and stable and direct. That's when it was sort of like comparable. And then the Blit sort of probably would outshine the Beamer. But like a modded Toyota is a stock. I don't know, could be a stock on many other cars. A lot of cars are really aggressive these days. Like I'm sure an AMG, when you put it on Sport Plus, is probably mental. You know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, I don't, but that's fine. I mean, I'll never know what an AMG does because I'm not going to own one of those. And that's all right. Not everything's for everybody, Some people like their cucumbers better pickled.
You could get a ride, though.
All right. Do you feel like we covered that? Is that good? We gave a math equation. We gave a long, extensive thing. And then we also said at the end of the day, it's a little bit subjective.
What I will say, though, is like X-1 is like really hard to do.
Oh,
like,
buddy,
life ain't easy,
No, but like if you're doing X-1, it's because you know, and you've gone
exactly what made that change.
Yeah, exactly. You've gone to X.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
So now it's either like the next car, or like you said, you're like you've bought something and are like downgrading back to a closer to factory because what you had was a bit much. Which I feel like besides wheels, like not many people do that. Like you're not putting a turbo on and then being like, I'm going to get a smaller turbo.
Yeah. No, you're not going to. I guess some people might be like, they get a bigger turbo. Also, I feel like Gerard would do that. I feel like Gerard is the edge case for all of these things. He has a thing and then he changes it, my answer wasn't the easiest. It's just, and also X can become
I just wanted
very sliding itself.
To dwell on that for a sec. Yeah.
Yeah. Because X at the end, you could just be like, you know what? X just shifted. And now the thing that I thought I couldn't get used to, I've now just come to live with it. And that's a personality type.
I was going to say, unfortunately, that's a very common occurrence in the car world. Like the perfect example is coilovers. Like you could take 10 people and put them on like BC coilovers. And I mean, like, okay, I'm just going by like the BCs that I've ridden on. They're off the shelf, quote unquote, revalved, whatever BCs. You put 10 people in that car, and they're going to be like, 5 people are going to be like, oh, it's sick. It's fucking sick. It's like coilovers, this and that. One person, 2 people are going to be like, man, this ride's like shit. And then, the third person's going to be like, I don't know. Fuck, I don't know what it's supposed to feel like. I guess it's fine. You know what I mean? But like, they just don't know any better. So they just live with it. And maybe when they put engine mounts in, or maybe when they put bushings in, they're like, oh, it's fucking stiff. I feel every bump now. That's cool. Or that's what it's supposed to do. Like, remember you had a story about coilovers or something, Kevin, back in the day.
Yeah.
You were like, yeah, like you just put coilovers in.
Well, like, I don't know. Yeah. You're just like, you're just stoked to have your car low. And yeah, like, you don't really know that it's like, you've never ridden in like good coilovers or bad coilovers. Yeah. Like they're just coilovers. And it's like every car that all you and your friends have all sort of ride the same, because you all have like whatever 10-year-old blown used Japanese coils. So everything's garbage. And then all of a sudden you like hop in the car with the brand new stances, and you're just like, this doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Look, you don't know what you don't know. I believe that's Socrates or Plato, and then knowing that you don't know everything is what's called wisdom, so that's very important. I thought about this, and this is a funny analogy for what we're talking about. The other day, I was going to pick my daughter up from school, and it was raining outside, and I didn't know where my rain jacket was. And I was like, well, fuck it. I guess I'm just going to get wet, and I'm just going to have to live with that. And then I walked out the door, and I was like, wait a minute. We have an umbrella. And then I like went back in and got an umbrella. And as I was walking to school, I was like, I never use an umbrella. I just, this is the first time in the 10 years of me like living here where I've been like, I'm going to use an umbrella. Usually I'm like, I'll wear a raincoat, and if I don't have that, then it's on me and I fucked up and I have to live with it. Somebody will just go out and stand in the rain and be like, I deserve this, like I bought these coilovers and it's low and I deserve how this rides right now. So that's the thing. You don't know those things. Gotta get wise.
That.
I feel like, that's the kind of person I am.
It's
that's why you and I get along, Kevin.
It's like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to suffer.
Yeah, I guess this is life now, is my mentality.
It's also a very like North American thing. Like when you look at Japanese car modifying, like we're always like, I remember like when I was younger looking at like their, the stuff that you could buy or the mods that they sell. And you're like, why is it so fucking expensive? It looks like it's stock, like whatever bushings or whatever it may be. You're like, it should be like this. It should be like solid mounted and this and that. It's like, because they're very big on like feel, and they're very big on like, hey, let's not ruin the fucking car that's good to start with. Let's just maybe make it slightly better. Like these bushings are slightly stiffer than stock. This turbo is like slightly more powerful than stock. The suspension's slightly stiffer than stock. But like, here in the, sort of like in the land of
the most,
if a little bit is good, then a lot must be better. You know what I mean? It's like everything's fucked up. Like, the turbo's huge. Like you can't put a bolt-on turbo on. Nobody's using a bolt-on turbo, bro. You got to get a fucking manifold and like a GT35, and then you got to get a standalone
external wastegate. You might
external wastegate. And it's like, bro, if you got a bolt-on turbo, that shit's peasant. You know what I mean? It's like, can you have a cat back? No, we don't want a cat. We want a downpipe. We want an elbow. We want the whole 9 yards. And like same thing with suspension. It's like, man, I'm not just gonna get coilovers and like some stock looking bushings. I'm getting solid everything and fucking adjustable everything and like billet everything and like hydraulic handbrake. And it's like,
all right, don't fuck up your business plan just now. Like you're good. It's
that's just like slight. Yeah, I don't know if you're putting this in, but that's sort of why I like didn't want to answer the crown, because and like that whole question, because it's like, just almost just do as little as possible.
Right, but there's a time and a place for a thing, and you could have this.
Yeah,
it's like also
it's right, like
but it's also dependent on the chassis. I would argue that the JZS, like the 16, requires more things to it for it to feel like a sporting car than a Crown or a 100, like it's,
well, see, that's the thing.
Or a 110 or whatever. It's not a sporting car. So it needs more. So you can tip that scale more and still be like, this is totally livable because that car is a goddamn couch anyway,
And I mean, like with the 16, that's a good example. It's like I literally had everything under the fucking sun, and that car still just like felt like a nice ass stock car. Like I never felt it was harsh ever. It was not, even with the engine mounts and stuff, like it would just like felt like a really good, well set up, nice car. Like it finally felt like, like how I would assume, or how, like a sporting car would be. It was still big and heavy and a bit clumsy, but like it was the least clumsy and the most sporting they could ever be. And I thought it was great. But like, yeah, if you did that exact same shit to a JZX 100, it would feel like a fucking S13. You know what I mean? Like it would just be all tinny and fucked up and just rattly and, One thing I was going to say, that whole thing about do the X and then minus one, Colin Chapman, that's how he originally built Lotuses. Like, I think it was Colin Chapman or whoever. Yeah, Lotus guy. So he built all these tube frame, all the old Lotuses were made of like, tubes welded together. So then he'd have his chassis that was built and he'd start taking tubes away. And he'd start taking tubes away to save weight until the car broke. And then he'd put that one tube back. The one that, after like when the car broke, he just put that last tube back that like, was kind of like pushed it over the edge. And that was good. You know what I mean? It's kind of like what you said, like,
yeah. That I'm going to say that equation comes from my friend in bicycles and bikes. And the question is, how many bikes should you own? And he says X minus one, and X is the number that his wife will leave him. And then it's just one less than that. And that's his equation. So, which I think is great. Anyway, my takeaway from this whole question is that clearly the Aristo /16 GS300, whatever you want to call it, is the best car to mod because you can just throw everything at it and it feels great. Gerard said it here first. He said it was a bit clumsy, but it felt great. So let's just...
it is fun just to throw stuff at them,
Yeah, great. So there you go. Get a 16 and do all the things to it. Yeah. All right. I'm going to call it on that one because I feel like we did it. Flockadile Dundee wrote in. So Asaka Flockadile Dundee. I'm going to read this because he made a statement first, like a manifesto, which is great. I have a statement for the podcast.
Nice.
Many episodes ago, I asked about the future of drift chassis. And with most newer chassis, especially from Toyota, being auto, would automatic drifting become more popular, or would the market kick up and start developing manual swaps for newer chassis? And after spending an event trying to drift an automatic GS300, I hope to fuck autos aren't the future because that sucked. So that was a statement, which hopefully that doesn't... No. Well, all you have to do, if we learned anything from the last question, is buy all the parts you can for that car, throw it at it, and it'll feel way better, and it'll be sporting.
And it'll be fun. And you'll have a lot of fun throwing the money at it.
It's a problem that can be fixed by just throwing money at it, which are the best types of problems. All right.
So is that the question?
Nope. That was a statement, a manifesto, Gerard.
Okay.
I see you're getting antsy, and I appreciate that. All right, here we go. Also, podcast question. What aero do you think not enough people run other than SerialNine? And then he said, insert advertisement here. What aero companies are slept on, and who do you think has the best designs?
What kind of car, though?
It doesn't say. So take it as you will. You can interpret it however you want. Well, what's slept on for aero?
Yeah, there was this company that I always used to see in like Dory 10s and that sort of stuff. And their aero is sick, and their company name is sick, and their logo is sick. And you wouldn't really see it, but I don't even know if they're around anymore. So that's, and I'm not one of these, like, I know all of, like, the Japanese, like, aero manufacturers or whatever. But that was Works 9. I always wanted Works 9 aero. I always thought it was super cool.
Yeah, no, I think Works 9 was pretty cool. They had a SR20 powered C33 Laurel, and it was blue with like a crazy lightning paint graphics, and it was doing a lap around. Can't remember the track. I've always tried to find that video, but it was like really, really sick, and I'm pretty sure that was Works 9. And yeah, their aero was pretty cool. And I think one of the things about Works 9 was that their aero was like really flexible or some shit.
I think that too.
But one of the things, I mean, not one of the things that I will say personally, though, is I do like aero, and I do maybe have more or less sort of specific likes, but I certainly don't really know aero very well. And I honestly don't totally care that much about aero as long as it sort of fulfills a minimum requirement of adding style to a car. I'm not really specific to like brand A or brand B or whatever. I mean, some aero these days is just so fucking ugly, mainly just like fenders and stuff, especially for JZXs. Like there's so much shit out there that like is just terrible. It's brutal. But I know, okay, for A86s, I was always so into Crystal Body Yokohama. The flares were just unbelievably fucking cool. CBY flares. And then for S chassis, I always liked the Spirit Rye with the fenders, that the really stock looking fenders, the Spirit Rye with the body line that went over the rear fender. I always thought that looked so fucking cool. And JZs, JZXs, you know, Car Modify Wonder's cool. Mm-hmm. What did I buy? I bought like BN just because, like, to me, it's like the car I'm building is just gonna try to like hopefully just be like the most, and like BN is basically BN. Like there's nothing crazier than BN because it's just big and stupid and low, and it's like the quintessential drift car aero, really. Like anything less than that, it's like it's pretty cool, but it's just not the most. So I don't know. I don't particularly love BN, but that's the look I was going for. So
good. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't actually like BN on most. I like it on some cars, but not the cars that I like most. Anyway, but I don't have an answer for this. Arabuni is what I'm going to say. No, I don't know. I've said it before in the past, and I actually am kind of with Gerard on it. I like the idea of aero and having like, I think it's fun for people that have very expensive aero, and I can see the value in authenticity. I mean, a lot of aero can be kind of like, you can buy something not great sometimes and then make it better or make it fit or do a thing. We are now in the age, though, where like a lot of the Pro-Am drift cars, when they get aero, you kind of like see them come out of a box and it's like folded 4 times over on itself. Have you ever seen that? And it's they kind of have to like let it like reform, like it's T1000 or T2000 or whatever. And then they just have to like let it like make it work again or something. I don't know. And that's fucked up and weird, but science, I guess. Honestly, I don't know.
That's a good point. Like the best aero for me would be the aero that doesn't goddamn break. That's kind of why, like, for me, aero is like, it's not irrelevant. I think it's absolutely relevant for style, but it's like, I don't give a shit if your car has aero A, B, or C. If the overall package looks like shit, it doesn't matter what aero you have. It's like the right aero or the best aero is the aero that you've used to make your car look sick. That's my opinion. Yeah.
And for Gerard, I believe if you can use the word techno to describe it, that's usually a pretty good aero. That is a adjective that defines good aero for Gerard, I believe, is techno.
I also liked Hippo Sleek.
Ooh, yeah, that's
I don't know, for the 8.6, like the CBY flares, were like, those were always so cool, and like the cars that they had them on were so cool, and like but also like I feel like I had a bunch of J Blood stuff, but like I always wanted the run free stuff.
Yeah, dude, run free 100% for me. A86 run free was the fucking be all end all. And honestly, like I don't think I've ever liked any aero more than that, because all I wanted on my X7 was an A86 run free bumper modified for an X7. I think that would just look so fucking cool. But yeah, run free 100%.
All right, great. Well, I like that for everyone. Do you remember
definitely a lot of
like
aero nerds?
Yeah, there's like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
there's like so
arrow
much.
nerds.
I mean, if you're into a car that
There's-
was been around for like 30 years, then like I'm sure, like all of the arrow that ever existed for it, and like what I mean, all that other stuff. Like,
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, and you can correct me if I'm very wrong. Being an arrow nerd for like a 16 is a bit dumb. I don't know. Like, there's only there's like a select few that are actually good. And then, like, is there any really obscure, cool arrow for an
326 power.
But that doesn't
Definitely
feel
the crazy.
obscure. That's not
I mean, it's
obscure.
definitely
We
that
had
arrow.
the Canadian representation of them on our podcast, so you can listen back to that. But yeah, like it doesn't feel obscure-ish as much. I don't know, but that's fine. Agree to disagree. I don't want to get into that one. It's fine.
Also, I mean, you can put this in or not. I don't think Arrow's fucking worth it personally. I don't think Arrow provides any good value, whether authentic or not. I sort of prefer non-authentic because it's like I'm not spending $3,500 on a kit and then painting it and doing all this shit and then just going smashing it. And
No, that's fine because there's actually a conversation to be had around that. That is the I don't know how to say this. I'll do my best. In the Venn diagram of car scenes that we enjoy, we'll say that we enjoy the authenticity, that world, which is kind of the Final Bout thing. And there are many people in Final Bout scene and that realm that would argue for authentic arrow, like authentic everything and period correct. But what you're kind of saying is in the X-1, your thing is like arrow and then -1 is your thing. It's like you don't care about the authenticity of arrow, which I get both sides of. One, like you said, it's literally probably just fiberglass or whatever the material it's made of, and you're going to smash it up, and then you're going to have to get it fixed or mod it, and then at what point is it no longer authentic because if you're putting your own fiber, whatever. But on the other side of that, it's like I do appreciate people that appreciate the authenticity of what they're doing, but it's a giant level of commitment knowing that, hey, I just like fucked up a $1,500 or $2,500 bumper or arrow
it's
kit.
It's not like, it's only because where we live, like because arrow costs so much to ship, it's just not like, I think in Japan, like arrow isn't that expensive. You know what I mean? It's like it costs the same as what, like what a SerialNine kit costs here. Like our arrow, I think is like $1,500 or something. Which I think in Japan, if you were to buy a complete JZX100 body kit, it's probably $1,500. But then you ship it and it's another $1,000 and this and that. And it's like your authentic kit has now just become double the price. And it's like, I don't know if I care about it that much. But, with the same respect, does any of the rep shit fit properly? Probably not.
Right. And how much work do you have to do? And then that's math equation of.
And then you probably got to you got custom paint,
Yeah, you got to paint it. You got to get it fitted properly. It's warped. All this shit doesn't work. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, you got to make it. You got to make it work with the other arrow or whatever you have.
But at the same time, I've put on some pretty expensive Japanese arrow. I think we've put on Final Connection on an R32, and that was like, it was pretty good. It fit well, but I mean, I definitely had to do some work on it. I've put Origin on. Origin wasn't like fucking great. I would probably say SerialNine fits better than Origin. I had C West for my Civic, and that was like OEM, like C West stuff. I mean, it was expensive as shit, but like for a reason. It was like the fiberglass edges were perfect. The holes were all drilled. Everything fit like absolutely beautifully. You literally just put the bumper on as if it were stock. But at the same time, just the rear bumper was $950, and this, the side skirts were $700 or something like that. And this was back in like fucking 2000. So unbelievably expensive, but nice. But at the same time, yeah, it's a sliding scale, man, like of value versus authenticity versus, I guess some people just care that much and I don't. So
I mean, there's a trick in there that you also then designed arrow. So you cared enough at some point where you did, I guess, built arrow for cars. I will say, I don't think I've ever said this. I do really think that the trunk for the the 16 that you guys made is amazing. It's the best. That was like when I first got my Aristo, I was like, I'm going to get that trunk. And then I did other things with my life. But I fully appreciate that trunk. And I think there's nothing as good as putting that trunk on nothing looks as good as that on those cars. Like, anyway, for that part of the car, nothing looks as good as the Serial 9 trunk. Hey, you know what? This is a side thought, and I was going to bring it up. We should do an Aristo episode where we just talk about 16s, and we get one other 16 owner on.
One thing I was going to add is because initially Waka Flocka said, drifting automatics is fucking terrible. Yes.
Yeah, I thought there was more to that question, but yeah. Anyway,
it's not a question; it's a statement.
It's a statement.
It was just a statement.
Well, I will rebuttal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any automatic made by Toyota. For performance wise, it's gonna suck. It's terrible. Like, it is a fully just like a slush box automatic, shifts slowly. It's got probably 4 or 5 gears at the most, like this and that, whatever. But yeah, I mean, if you look into the new stuff, for example, the 8 HP, which is a ZF transmission, it is kind of the new world. It is an automatic transmission, but it has clutches, so you can manually shift it. You can have a virtual clutch, so you can still clutch kick. It has 8 gears. It shifts as fast as a DCT, so like milliseconds. So you can paddle shift it. You can have a sequential looking shifter. So basically, it's a sequential tranny, an automatic tranny, and a manual tranny in one fucking tranny, and it's sick. So that to me would be the future. Yeah, because I don't even want to fuck with manuals on a street car anymore. I'm over shifting nonstop and clutches.
Really?
All that. Yeah, I thought we went over that already. I thought, my next car is not going to have a manual
buddy,
transmission.
you change your mind all the time, so I got to check in with you all the time. You know?
Yeah,
Gerard will change his mind from the beginning of the podcast to the end of the podcast.
To the end,
yes.
I'm going to check in with you again at the end and be like, hey, do you still feel that way about manual?
No, I want to get an 8 HP in my next car. I don't want to have a manual. I don't want to have to shift and use the clutch every time I drive my car.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That sounds soulless, buddy.
Does it? Well, add me to the soulless list. I still have the other car that has a manual. I have 2 cars with CD009s, and I don't need 2 cars with CD009s. You know.
Yes, you do, because it's a great product. It's a great product that you absolutely. You've done such a good job this episode of talking people out of buying really good parts that they should have on their car.
So the next thing that we're going to be moving to is is we are going to be using that turbo lambic controller with the 8 HP, and that's like, so we're testing that out. We're sort of seeing how that all works, and if it's cool, maybe we'll carry that as a product.
Sounds lovely. Great, good. Love that for all of us. I got one last thing, then we'll get on to the next thing. Okay. I feel like if I use this person's name, it would be name droppy, and I don't want to. So I will say our wine drinking friend, this wine drinking motherfucker, wrote in, and he said, listening to your recent podcast, and GMR is VR Wheels in-house brand. The owner was making original designs and then started knocking off wheels because he was tired of seeing what wheels like Blitz were selling for, and was hoping to upset the market. So that's why the GMR wheels has the knockoffs or the impersonation wheels. I think there's I wanted to find a nicer word for knockoffs, and then I couldn't. But yeah, so that's all. That was like a correction or an update for people out there. So
what do you mean by upset the market? Like he's like, instead of buying,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, buy my $3,000 brand new ones that look the same.
Yeah, and be like, hey.
Well, now exactly. Now you could erase the inflated fake value of these wheels by offering people a cheap facsimile. Yeah, and it's not gonna
cheap, but they're cheaper.
They're cheaper for sure, and it's brand new.
I mean, and that's 50%.
I'm sure there's a bunch of value to some people.
Yeah.
Somebody with Aero that isn't original, right?
A little, but then you get into the question of, I didn't realize this, and I keep using the word because I discovered between this podcast and the last podcast that I just like things that are authentic, whether it be people and or our parts. And so now I'm really just tied to using the word authentic. But yeah, you get into the argument of like authenticity and what does that actually mean? It does say there's a follow-up. I'll read it and then I don't know if I'll put it in. Do you find it funny that they're still simultaneously selling real or selling taxed real wheels as direct knockoffs, but almost everyone I know in the States still gets their lips through them too? Yeah, anyway, but that is true. We kind of talked about that. Everyone gets their lips from GMR or VR.
VR.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I don't think it's a bad move on their part, depending on how much they have invested in it, and you know what I mean. Like, I do agree that, like, I think I was talking about it with it was Fraser or whatever. It's like I like original wheels. I like authentic wheels. I like the fact that they're old. I do think that's cool, but at the same time, they are old, and like sometimes they're shitty. Sometimes the finishes kind of suck, and sometimes they're all beat up, and sometimes One thing I will say though is when I get wheels that are authentic and Japanese, they feel special. That's one thing. I mean, I've been buying fucking Japanese wheels forever, and I remember like when they arrive in the boxes and you unpack them, and it's like getting a fucking dope ass Christmas present. And I guarantee you're not getting that same feeling from the GMRs, whether they're better or not, whether they're whatever the fuck they're going to be. For myself, it's like a very special thing to like unpack.
You're
like
saying the work box is like means something.
No, even if it's like used like from back in the day when GMR and those people didn't, or VR didn't buy every single fucking wheel off Yahoo Japan. Back when you could buy wheels for like if you searched a lot, you'd find some deals, and it was pretty cool. And you'd get you'd open your Jesse Streeter box, or back in the day we used to use I can't even remember what it was, but we used to use this packet, this service that you could buy off Yahoo Auctions, and you'd get the boxes and open them. And it was like those first couple of wheels I opened were just like, it was just so, you're opening a piece of history. You know what I mean? Like those wheels don't exist anymore.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I just like work wheel boxes. Something about the white box with the blueprint on it. I'm always like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Gets me riled up. Makes me feel feelings,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I saw someone's useless or whatever weird flex was their work wheels tinfoil.
yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
I did like that people were commenting on their useless.
Yeah.
Their dumb flexes, which is great.
Daryl messaged me. I should message that. I should tell you.
Daryl messaged
me. He said messaged me as well
about the weird flex. Oh, so he probably told you what it was then.
Yeah, he said it's the same thing that Kevin and I do.
He's not about how he loves passing Tacomas.
I didn't get that one.
Oh, he goes. So should I say now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so like regarding the last episode, we were talking about what's a dumb flex or what's a weird flex but cool, bro, or whatever. So our friend Daryl of HJ Hall Transport, HJ Hall Towing, not towing. Anyways, whatever. Hauling. The dude that towed us to Final Bout and back, and our good buddy, he goes, I've got a dumb flex. I love passing Toyota Tacomas climbing hills on the highway while towing a trailer with 2 cars in it. They're gutless pieces of shit, and I enjoy showing them that, even though they probably don't care. But if they do, I hella win. So it's basically the same thing I do in my truck. Just like race people, and like whether they know that you're racing them or not, you're like, yeah, fuck you, buddy.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter.
I like that. The important part here is that Daryl drives for a living, and he sent all of us different dumb flexes that he does, which really makes you wonder, how many dumb flexes does Daryl have?
Which is yours?
Mine. This is a fun game. Where is it? Daryl. Dude, I dumb flex just like you and Kevin. Pinch them off when they try to pass me, but I used a trailer to really fuck with them and try to let the person behind me close the gap too, so they get stuck in the lane. Like I'm in the lane and I'm passing. I know to move right when I'm not passing, and I hate them taking my safe stopping space.
Yeah, I basically got the same one.
Oh, okay. Only
Yeah.
Gerard got the rare Pokemon card on that one.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't get the hologram. We didn't get the hologram reply.
Yeah, duh, too bad. Onto that Charizard there, Gerard, because maybe it'll be worth something someday. So we fielded some questions, which is delightful. I appreciate everyone who writes in. I know Gerard led with that, and we usually say it at the end, so that's good. Gerard, here's the thing that people wonder. You buy a car, and you're going to mod it. What are some things that you should and shouldn't do when you buy a car? Is that the question? Did I phrase that right?
I think it's okay. Yeah, I think it's good. So basically, we were talking about things you should or shouldn't do, should or shouldn't do to a car that you just bought. Probably your first car, or maybe your second or third car. I think if you're seasoned like us, like you've had like 15,000 cars, you probably know what not to do or what to do. Or maybe let's do this one like a,
you do. No, but hang on. That's funny that you said that, but you change your mind more than anyone I know about what to do with this car.
Or what car to even do anything to.
Or yeah, like you're like, if you're seasoned like us, every week you should have an identity crisis about what your car should be.
I just love cars. Honestly, man, I just want to have a bunch of money so I could just have all the cars I want and do all the shit I want to do to these cars.
Yes, you want a cheat code for an unlimited money in Sims. Yeah, I get it. That's fair.
So when I was a kid, I said, I was always like this. I was like, when I grow up, I'm going to have two of every car. I'm going to have one. Well, like every car, in this collection that I'm going to have. Right?
I know, but okay, finish and then I'll say why I'm laughing so hard. Go.
Okay, so like, because you know how you're always like, oh, you get a car and then you fuck it up and then you need another new daily, right? And a lot of the times when you buy this car, you like the car itself, but at the same time, you want to modify this car. So like, you have to buy two of them. So let's say you want JZX100. You're going to buy one really, really clean, super nice, original Tour V 5-speed JZX100, and you're going to shelf it, right? Put it in the matrix there. Leave it. It's beautiful. You want to drive a JZX100? You want to get the original?
And you bought a Matrix?
No, the Matrix of cars.
I know. I'm just
should have got triple.
Yeah. So you want to have the JZX100 experience as Toyota intended. You have that car, and then you have the SerialNine version, which is like super fucked up, crazy. Probably has 500 horsepower, super low, whatever. And shit. If you really like those cars, for example, maybe you even have two or three of them. Maybe you have the stanced out one. Maybe you have the drift one. And then you always have to have the original one. So that would be my collection. But like, for example, Lamborghini, you're going to have a Huracan, or you're going to have let's say you have a, like a Ventador SV. You got to keep an original one because that's the only one that's fucking worth money. And then maybe you got one that was a bit clapped, or maybe it was crashed or something. And then you got all these mods. It's turbocharged and stanced out. And because that's the thing, you're going to fucking ruin the car. You're basically ruining the car.
Yeah.
So you got to have an original one to back it up
on.
Yeah.
All I can think of as soon as Gerard started talking is I could cut him out and then just put in the Bob Odenkirk thing from I Think You Should Leave. And I know Gerard won't know this because I don't think he's watched it, and Kevin has. But when he sees a stranger in the diner and he's talking to his kid and he's like, oh, we can't go to the ice cream store because it's closed. And he gets the stranger to start lying, and the stranger starts talking about all the cars that he owns. And that was Gerard just there. He's like, then I got doubles of all the classics. Oh, this deal just came through. Now I got triples. Triples is better than doubles. I got to get triples of a CUDA. That's great. Good. I've been waiting for this. And that's all I could think of as soon as you said that. And the other part was, I was like, oh man, there's no way Gerard gets two cars and keeps one stock as like the original blueprint of the car or whatever. It's like you would for sure. And then you already jumped in. You're like, maybe you need 4. So you can have like a slammed one, a sporting one, a stock one. And because it's like, yeah, you'd be like, this stock one kind of sucks unless you do like X, Y, and Z to it. And then you would do X, Y, and Z to it. And then you'd be like, oh, God damn, I shouldn't have done Z
I think Gerard's thing was perfect, where he was just like, shelf it. That's literally what you'd have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
have
don't
to be so
ever see
inaccessible.
Gerard shelving anything.
But I mean, if you had a bunch of cars and like, why would you drive the most boring one?
If there's an infinite amount of money with an infinite amount of cars, and yes, Gerard.
I mean, it wouldn't even be. I mean, dude, some people have like ludicrous car collections. Mine would just be like a bunch of stupid old Japanese cars. There'd be a bunch of
German
Porsches.
cars.
What are you talking about?
And Porsches and Lamborghinis. Gerard, it's so weird that you know sometimes so little about yourself, and those around you know so much. You're just like, oh, it'd be these Japanese cars, except for all the other ridiculous shit you had. And as soon as you had the other things, you'd be like, I should go back and buy those fucking European Fords that I keep talking about. And then you would do that. Yeah. And then you'd be like, I do miss Volvos, and then you'd like do a Volt like you.
No, and then you'd be like, man, you know what? I've always wanted to build a Lada.
Yeah,
100%.
You're like, oh man, like
2 or 3 Ladas.
I always wanted a V10 fucking twin turbo Lamborghini, so I got to build that.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are the.
You're right there. You're just, oh
yeah. We're just.
You're like a dog right now.
Made up shit. Yeah, you are a goldfish. Is what you are.
I'm like watching. I'm watching your tail like wag, like harder and harder.
Yeah. You're a goldfish. The bigger the tank, the bigger you'll grow. And this kind of makes sense because Kevin is a little bit, it feels like sometimes the antithesis of you, whereas like the time when we told Kevin to dream a little dream and then like, we're like, Kevin, you can have any car you want, like way back early on when we started the podcast.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, well, I'll just get a bunch of shit boxes.
Yeah.
It was drive one shit box to buy a slightly better shit box. And then eventually he was like an F40, and we're like, whoa, don't dream so big.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Settle down here, buddy.
So, okay. So the model here is, I like that you asked the question and then it went off on how you would buy all the cars. Okay. So
what was the question?
Just bought a car. It's a
things you shouldn't do to a car that you just bought. No, so what I was going to say, Kevin, we should just go back and forth. I'll say one and you say one, and then I'll say one.
All right, I'll go first.
Okay, Kevin's first. This is what you should or shouldn't do.
This is what you should do.
Should or shouldn't? Start with
this
that.
This is should.
Should?
Yeah.
Okay, should.
You went and you got this car. You're all stoked. You're driving it home. You should go check the oil and get gas. I bought a car and was driving it home, and it ran out of gas, and I was there for probably like an hour or more fiddling with it, doing all the shit because the gas gauge worked to the point where like I'm like a cop pulled up and it was like a modified Corolla. And I'm like, oh man, I'm going to get a VI now. And so anyway, I'm just like, yo, like I just bought this car. As you can see, here's the transfer papers. Like, I'm like, I don't know, like something's going wrong. And he was like, is it out of gas? And I was like, no, wait, like there's no way. And then anyway, he left because he was like, all right, well, there's no emergency and like whatever. So anyway, then I'm like, hey, like I called my buddy. I'm like, hey, can you bring me gas? I put gas in it, immediately fired up. Like, so yeah, that car, the gas gauge didn't work, I guess. And I didn't know that because I just bought the car. So yeah, like check the oil, check the gas.
All right, that's a good should. So should check the oil, should check the fuel.
You should check the oil before you buy it, shouldn't you? Or no?
Probably,
sure,
maybe.
Yeah. If you're a smart guy and actually cared, sure, that's a good one.
Okay,
that's in another episode of how to buy a used car.
How to buy a car, yeah.
How to buy a used car. Okay, should maintenance. First thing, obviously drive it and see what you think it needs. But like, if you think it needs it, it probably needs it, unless it's like a fairly new car. If you're buying an old Toyota or whatever, just fucking replace a bunch of shit. All the ball joints, the bushings. Just do maintenance first before you start like buying coilovers and arms and all this other nonsense. I mean, sometimes the arms replace bushings, so maybe you're like, a little bit of a home free the bunch there. But anything that doesn't get replaced by putting some cool new shiny parts on it, just replace it with some good quality maintenance parts.
Oh, that's so boring.
It's not boring, man. Because
I want to be
a level 2,
tension rod bushings. when you replace those, the car literally drives like a brand new car. It's amazing.
Yeah, but I don't get any internet clout, so that's...
You know what's the funniest? One of the funniest things ever. My Blit. Okay, it's a fucking perfect example. Actually, my Blit literally has like engine swap, coilovers, CD009, twin plate clutch, the best coilovers ever. Crazy stance wheels, fucking sound system, sound deadening, wiring, amps, fucking head unit, the whole 9 yards, steering wheel. You know what it has? Completely stock GX brakes, front and rear, stock, worn out, shitty, like to the metal. I only replaced the brakes when we went to Weekfest, and I've had that car for like 5 years.
Exactly, because it's boring.
No, brakes are sick, man. It's just like I didn't want to put shitty brakes on it, so I just kept
I thought you bought aftermarket brakes for that thing.
I did, yeah. I finally changed the fronts when we went to Weekfest. Then I went to change the rears and figured out that the rear GX brakes are actually totally fucked as well. So I had to change like the whole hub and everything, which I never did. So yeah, but isn't that funny? I didn't do any maintenance. I didn't put brake pads or any shit in it, and then they were just terrible and super not safety. So should maintenance. Go, Kevin.
Does Ryan have anything? No.
No, I'll just chime in as it happens. I'm fine with that.
All right. I'm gonna say, I don't know if this is a should or shouldn't. Maybe what you should do is sleep on it, and what you shouldn't do is just do whatever you think you want to do.
That's a good idea.
It feels like sometimes you just get this idea and you're like, yo, I'm going to do this. It's going to be sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you do it and you just wreck all your shit. You just ruin
that's
it.
A good point.
Like one time I'm like, yo, I'm going to like learn body work. So I'm like, I'm going to fill the body line of my Corolla in with Bondo. This is like, dude, it's like an inch tall and like a half an inch deep. Like how much Bondo are you gonna put on? Like, you know what I mean? And the car's totally fine anyway. I started to do it on one of the quarter panels, and then I would was like, this takes way too much Bondo, and like I'm like, it's not gonna look any better. I don't know what I'm doing, like all of this stuff, And it was like, if I just would have like slept on that or like,
that's a good one.
It's
sleep.
Watch out for the slippery slope. I think that's a fair. I said the slippery slope will get you.
That wasn't even the story that I like made me tell that. The story from that was like when it was like, oh, I had the car for one day and I took out all of the interior except for
that was what I was gonna go.
The top half of the dash, And it's like
that was
maybe sleep on it.
That was actually going to be mine. I was going to wait for you guys to say all the things and then be like, just leave the interior in on your car. There's no reason for you to take it out, Yeah. You're not a race car yet. Don't worry. It's okay. And nobody's going to be impressed by it. Just going to be rocks, little pebbles flying around in your car.
I remember, we built a Crescent at one time and I was like, okay, this is the first Crescent I ever built. I'm like, okay, I need to take all the weight out of this because the engine's completely stock. I need all the weight I can out of this thing. And actually it was 280 pounds we took out of that car. So I took out everything, took out the dash, the heater, took out I don't know why the fuck I took the heater out, but I took the heater out, door panels, everything. And then sure enough, it's my fucking daily driver, man. And, we live in fucking Vancouver, which rains nonstop. And then sure enough, try to drive a goddamn gutted car with no heater in the rain. You can't. It's fucking all the windows are fogging up and shit. I can't see anything. Like it was just the worst. And then there's water coming inside, and the ground is all rocky and dirty from like your feet and shit. So now you get just like mud sloshing around in the car. It's fucking freezing cold. It's super loud.
Like noise when you're like got rocks under your shoe on the the metal is so bad and annoying. Like,
dude, and I painted the entire interior. I painted it with black, like fucking trim clad or whatever the fuck it was, and it looked great for fucking 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I've never had the inkling to take the interior out of my car. I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, where were you?
You two were the first. You two were the first that I'd ever met that were like, and then I just ripped the interior out. It's like,
dude,
okay.
My brand new like my brand new 98 Civic. Like I had a 98 Civic. I was like, I bought it. I can't remember how long I had it for. It wasn't very long. I remember showing up to like Lordco and like, one of the like big reps was like a car guy. He was like into CRXs and stuff. And the car was brand new at the time. So I show up and I had nitrous on my car. So it was a brand new, like a 98 Civic, like 2 or 3 months old, gutted with nitrous. And he's like, yo, what the fuck, man? Like, what did you do to this thing? It's like, it's brand new. Like, why did you do this? And I was like, yo, man, it's fucking sick. Like, it took out like 75 pounds and added like a 70 shot of nitrous. So obviously it was much faster than stock and much faster than, most of the cars at the time of what it was. But at the same time, it's like, it's already a shitty Civic. You just made it way shittier. Like, I had Del Sol seats though. So that was cool.
That's pretty good. Kevin, to go to Kevin's point, I painted my 180 myself. I did like a bunch of like, kind of like filled any of the dents. And that was because I was tired. This is a dumb thing. I was tired of getting my bumper paint matched to my car. So I was like, if I just make my car an easy color for the bumper, because every time you break the bumper, if I just make the car easier to match the bumper, then it'll all be consistently one color, and I can just continually paint the bumper myself. And I did that.
I've done that exact thing.
And then I was fine with it for probably about a month. And then after I was like, God damn it, why did I do this? And then that is when I left Nissans.
Who remembers the roller paint jobs?
I mean, I feel like you could do it decently, but I never did it.
But that was one of those. It was a trend, man. There were so many like how-tos and shit on how to do a good roller paint job, and I just was thinking, man, people are literally painting like nice ass cars with fucking foam rollers and like shitty paint. It was brutal, man. I remember seeing cars and thinking, wow, you really just ruined that like 5 Series BMW. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, that's dumb. No, mine at the time was an S chassis, and I used like a satin army green on the bottom.
Oh,
like,
jeez.
Well, at the time, I thought of the time,
as was the style at the time.
Yeah. Also,
so then I painted my car flat satin green.
It wasn't flat; it was satin. There's a difference between flat and satin. Get it together. Honestly, like, it sounds dumb, but like that was the style at the time. I don't know. I remember feeling really guilty about it, and then going to Calgary like 2 years ago with Eric to Horsley's memorial thing, and they were showing pictures of everyone's car from that era. And I was like, oh, we all did things like that.
Yeah, we all made terrible, terrible choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a should, or wait, is it Kevin's turn? I think it's Kevin's turn.
I can't remember.
Whatever, I'll go. Okay, so I have a should. You know what you should do? You should fucking learn your car. You should fucking drive it. You should drive it as much as you possibly can, and drive it, not hard right away. Just sort of like maybe kind of drive it harder and harder as you learn it more. But, the best thing to do is basically take a car home and think you're a hero and go and rip the shit out of it and put it into, a telephone pole or a curb or
a K-rail or
another car or a fucking human.
Yeah.
Or have it be on jack stands then for like 6 months, Like, go home and be like, time to build this car. And then it becomes a project that you.
That's another one, man. Hey, don't. Yeah. You should use that as a should. You had
a great.
No, that's a shouldn't. Don't.
I know, but that's another one. That's another point. Different than this point.
Yeah, that's
learn your car.
Completely separate point.
Yeah, learn to drive your car.
You should learn your point.
Learn to drive your car before sending it. Let's say that. Okay. So don't fuck your car up in the first week that you have it. All right, Ryan has a good one. Ryan says,
enjoy your car before you decide it isn't enough.
There you know? That's a perfect one.
I cannot tell you how many people I know that have been like, man, this car is good, but it's going to be better if I could just engine swap it or put this in it. And then the car goes away for like
That was
6
my
months to
entire
5 years.
Mhm.
Or you just have a friend that you've never seen them drive their car and it used to belong to Gerard. And actually, no, but I have a ton of like,
Which one of
I
the
know a ton of,
4 people
Wait.
are you talking about?
Oh yeah, that's true.
yeah,
That's
well, that
actually
one's
totally true.
Alex.
I know.
Yeah. But realistically, it's like even Tito, a local Vancouver guy here, bought a R32 GTR, I want to say, from Saskatchewan, and it was bought from a guy who was a mechanic for like semis, tractor trailers or whatever. And it was the overconfidence that people had of like, I could rebuild an engine. And then they take, like, it's really easy to take a car apart. It's a lot harder to put it back together properly. And like, that is another like sleep on it. It's like, hey, do you actually know what you're about to get yourself into and what that means? So yeah, I've seen a lot of people have good cars go to waste because 1, they fancied themselves a mechanic. 2, they've cheaped out on like pretty like easier things. So it's like, hey, you could just buy a fully working wiring harness, or you could buy somebody else's rat's nest for half the price. And they're like, well, half the price, I can figure out wires. It's like, but can you?
I feel like I had a point, but I also feel like Ryan's point right now is just like blanketing all the points.
Yeah, sorry, I really went for it. I'm just a big old blanket. But yeah, I just think enjoy your car for as much as you can. And if you're new to cars, do things incrementally. Don't let your stomach be bigger than your eyes. Be a Carter Jackson.
Because mine was going to be like, yeah, like don't bite off more than you can chew. Because like,
yeah, I mean, I think that's worthy kind of its own, maybe a little bit.
But I feel like Ryan literally just said that. Where it's just, like, you know, like where, yeah, it's just like basically you're like, oh, hey, like I got this S15 and you're like, I'm gonna do this turbo upgrade, and then you like take your car off the road and take the turbo off, and now you're like, oh, I need to get a manifold. They're like, oh, I didn't know, like I have to get a what's a wastegate, and it's like, oh, like I need to get an ECU, and like, yeah, now you just have that snowball thing that Ryan talked about, where it's like I drove my car for 2 weeks and then I haven't driven it in 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that might
be
a little bit. That's a little bit even different than mine. I know people that have like that's almost like do your homework. That ties into Gerard's like know your car. Know
your car. Yeah.
I mean, mine was mainly just the driving aspect, but yeah, you could definitely tie it into like, hey, do some research. Like yeah, you bought a car and you want to do all this stuff to it. Maybe do some research on like what's not that you're going to do what they do, but what are common mods? Why do people do them? What are the advantages or disadvantages of doing said mods? Like, just sort of learn about the car, like learn about what everyone else is doing and why they're doing it. Because I mean, sometimes that's beneficial, sometimes it's not.
All right. I'm going to say this. We've been a little bit, do we want to keep doing this, or do we want to just really knuckle down into something? Because I feel like we've been a little bit philosophical. And I feel like
we were going, and then we had a point that basically blanketed it all. I liked how we were going back and forth. Like my whole thing was it was supposed to be like a rapid fire, like shouldn't. But then we got
okay.
Really
I was going to actually challenge you to be like, if you bought a car now, you get a new car, what are all the things you are doing? So Gerard gets. And this is hard for Gerard, because it's like if it's a Toyota, it's different than it's a BMW. But like, what are the do's? What I'm saying is everything that we've said is very like big idea. But now you're a technical person, and if I can get technical information from you, maybe there's a benefit to that. So it's like right out of the gate, if you're building a car tomorrow, knowing everything you know now, but it's your first car. This is a fucking weird conundrum, but if you knew everything you know now and you were building a car as if it was your first car, what would you do?
Okay,
it's like a time travel question.
First of all? What kind of car is it, first of all?
What car would you like it to be? Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
Take the engine out, take the suspension out, take the subframe out, take the cut the fenders open, like put two
No, but
wastegates
I'm saying, hang on. I'm saying if somebody showed up and they were like a young guy and they said like, "Hey, Gerard, I want to build this JZX 100. I'm new to cars. I'm just figuring it out. What are the mods that I should seriously consider that wouldn't be overwhelming for me?"
I mean, I think we just covered that. Do maintenance, get some good coilovers, replace all the bushings on that car. Yeah, just make sure everything works. I'd probably get some brake lines or something, some better brake pads. Yeah, like I mean, if it's a straight up like a good example, let's say it came in, dude's got like a really good example of a JZX 100 or JZX 110. It's a really nice car. I would do all the maintenance, so ball joints, bushings, etc. I would do probably some sort of exhaust and like a cat delete or something like that. Because I think if you do a downpipe in a cat delete, then it hits boost cut. So I'd probably just do like a cat back and probably leave the downpipe. Or
can you put a restrictor ring on the 100?
See that? Yeah, I mean that's a perfect example. Like on the Blit, like am I gonna fucking put half of an exhaust on? Like no, like I just want the fucking whole thing.
Right. Again, what I'm saying is if you could impart the knowledge that you have now, because we did some
but that's
very
the thing. It's all subjective. Does the guy want the car to be loud or does he want it to be quiet? Like maybe he doesn't give a shit if the exhaust is loud or not. Like I want that. I would like that extra 10 horsepower, 10, 15 pound-feet of torque. But
right. But now he's a new car guy. So we're saying, hey, you just bought a car. What are the mods that you should do if you're going to build a car? A lot of what you said is great.
What's his budget? How about that? Because honestly,
he's swimming in oil every weekend. So whatever that means. You can't.
Is he a homeowner?
Yeah, is he a homeowner? A good callback, Gerard. It's an average budget. What do you think a younger person would have for a budget to build a car? There's a lot of
Let's say this. This could probably be used for like most cars. I would do, of course, first things, maintenance. Change the fucking oil, do your ball joints, check for any bushings that are worn out, replace them. Either replace them with polyurethane or stock or whatever. Just make sure nothing on the car sucks. I would probably do some brake lines and some brake pads. I mean, if you're going to do brake pads, you might do rotors at the same time. But with that said, if the brakes are good, I probably wouldn't change that stuff. I might just do brake lines because that would increase the feel of whatever brakes it has on it. And then maybe if you're going to do a brake upgrade later, then don't spend money on fucking pads and rotors for the stock stuff. The lines will generally cross over normally. So at least you have a better feel. You would have then the best possible stock brakes that car would ever have. So brake lines, I would definitely do some sort of exhaust because if you got a JZ, you have to enjoy it at some point. So you're going to have at least a cat back,
Right.
Okay. So now you have a cat back, brake lines, maintenance. I would do a filter. I wouldn't even bother doing a fucking intake pipe or any shit. I would just do a K&N drop in. That's what I would do. That's honestly what I do on most of my cars. Sound system, 100%. I would do some sort of Bluetooth. I do that in every single car I buy. It's like some sort of Bluetooth modern. You get in, your phone connects, the music starts playing. That's sort of stage one. And then if it was a JZX 100, 100% I'd do a steering wheel because the steering wheels fucking suck in those things. So either you could use like an Altezza wheel or something that had an airbag, or just buy an Arcadia steering wheel because they're sick and SerialNine makes the best steering wheels ever. And then unfortunately the stock seats in those things suck. So if you actually gave a shit, I would probably just change the seats. But that's like a huge expense. And unfortunately, just those cars don't come with good seats. They're fucking terrible. So seats, steering wheel, shift knob, and then those small performance things that I said.
Okay, I'm gonna say.
Sorry, coilovers. 100%. You have to buy coilovers. You have to buy coilovers.
What about wheels?
I mean,
100%.
Yeah, I mean, aesthetically,
you have to buy Aero.
No, because let's say the car. If the car came with stock Aero, for me, it'd just be as long as it was low, even obviously the stock wheels wouldn't be great, but I would change the wheels. I don't necessarily know that I would buy aftermarket wheels for it. I'd be okay with some
I
other
don't agree
stock
with
wheels
any
or
of
like
it.
some BMW wheels or something like that, I'd be okay with that. As long as the car drove really well.
Oh, that's really good. So I will say I'll be the person of the new car person in this. One, I know I had to push you to get to this point, and you seemed very upset as I was doing it, but you actually just gave really good information, because as a new car person, I'd be like, yeah, coilovers make absolute sense. But then wheels and coilovers, do those two things and then do all the things Gerard just said. But no, everything you said is not a thing that I would consider, and I haven't had to consider it for a long time. But even if I were to turn around and buy a car tomorrow, the first two things I'd be looking at would be coilovers and wheels. And I think that what you offered was actually very beneficial, because I think most people, if I'm the 90% of car modifiers that are just like, well, should have wheels and coilovers and then you're good to go.
Well, that's a build. So
yeah, that is a build. Yeah. And then aero, like Kevin added. So I do think there's actually a lot of value in there. Now, Kevin, as the resident Altezza expert, if anyone gets an IS300, what's the first thing they should do?
I mean, I don't know. I feel those cars are vastly different.
That's why I'm at. Yeah. Well, just pretend.
Go in there and enjoy it.
Yeah.
First of all, get
First
a header
thing.
so that it sounds super shitty. Header, 3-inch exhaust, no cat. Done.
And that sounds sick.
Yeah, it's just like fucking nonsense. Sorry, backing up a bit to this Tour V, I would assume it had an LSD, because if it didn't have an LSD, 100% you need to put an LSD in that thing. Any rear-wheel drive car should have an LSD as one of the first mods.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Those
Unless you want a
are
BMW and it's just like, nah, you can't do that.
BMWs sound awful. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Gerard, look, you made some very excellent points. It reminded me of why we keep you around. No, I'm joking. Is there... Okay, so that's a Tour. What other chassis can you think of somebody might get into that you have knowledge with that you could part on someone and be like, hey, if you had a 16 again, Gerard, what would you do? Don't say throw it in the garbage. I beat you to the goddamn punchline.
It's honestly, man, like a 16, like let's say I had an Aristo V300, this and that, like I wouldn't even know where to start, man. Like,
okay, timeout. You tell me all the time things that I should do. So now Ryan's come to you. Hey, Gerard, I have a car that
your cars are already manual. So like it's already like, okay, what you should do.
I would argue most people buying an Aristo could probably enjoy it as an automatic for a while, like for a decent.
Honestly, I really did enjoy my Aristo as a stock street car, like 100% stock. I actually really loved that car because it was what it was. Like, I just accepted the fact that it was a grand touring car. It was very comfortable. It was relatively fast. I had a 147 Aristo. Also, I really loved that thing. And honestly, to me, those cars, nice coilovers and like some half decent stock type wheels, that's probably what I would do. I obviously have like some sort. I think I deleted the mufflers. I made a downpipe. So I had downpipe, deleted mufflers, good coilovers, and then maintenance. And fucking that's it. Just drive it automatic. Because I mean, like, shit, you're gonna do a manual swap. That's like it's like $10,000 or something.
I mean, eventually you might. I don't know. I think
the thing is, I don't know if it like added to the car personally, like, because the manual or the automatic isn't the main problem with that car in my eyes.
Yeah. As a person who owns a 16, having a car, when I got it, I was like, well, I have coilovers and I have aero and I have all this stuff. So like, I'm good. And then I meet Gerard and Gerard's like, well, no, like consider the following, like your steering angle. It is, like it's not going to be very responsive. Everything in this car is very like kind of like floaty.
Have we
kind
changed?
of like
Have
cloud.
we changed his? Have we changed your tension rod bushings? We have.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
In the steering wheel video, we did it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
So you have all of those things. It's like, what does that car need? And you've actually told me like what it needs. It's like that car actually does, as we mentioned in the beginning, is very different than any of the other cars that we've talked about. It benefits from actually a ton of parts being thrown at it because it does feel better. And I can say that every time you make a recommendation for that car and then I get in it and my car is changed, I feel the difference. And it's like, oh yeah, this is better than what it was. And it makes it more enjoyable. It is a much steeper hill that you're climbing compared to a Tour V or even like Kevin's
S15,
chassis.
BMW.
Yeah. Like it's very different.
You know what's funny is you actually raise a very good point. And you sort of hit the nail on the head, man. Because like when I had my V300, when I had my Aristo, for example, obviously in the end, when I had done every fucking thing to it and it had 600 horsepower, that was like the sort of culmination of that car. But I don't honestly think I loved it as much as when I drove it to California. Because in my eyes, that car isn't really supposed to be a drift car. I mean, I made it into a drift car, and in the end, it is a car that I drifted. But I think the best iteration of my Aristo was what I took to California. Because it looked sick, it drove sick, but it was still a cruiser. It's just an automatic car. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's basically like the exact same thing I would do to like a Celsior and LS400, except that it just happens to be a 16 Aristo. So I think maybe those cars, now that if I really look at it the same way, those two cars are sort of the same. Help me out here, Kevin. Like they're both the same sort of like genre of cars. One is just sportier than the other one. Like if we stop trying to make the Aristo into a Tourer V, we just take the Aristo for being a sportier version of like a Celsior, then it's actually a great car.
I don't disagree, but I also like don't have the like it's not already a great car. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like it already is a great car myself, but like.
But I mean, like, for example, the Celsior, like all you did to it was like all the sort of like suspension stuff. And like, was it better when it was manual, or was it just fine when it was automatic when you took it to California?
Yeah. I mean, it was fine when it was auto. It was kind of like more fun to drive when it was manual, but like it was fine. Definitely. Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Did changing it to manual like make it twice the car that it was before? No.
Yeah, I feel like maybe that whole philosophy of taking these like non-sporting cars and then trying to elevate them to like this like sporting, responsive, nice drift car-ness, maybe that's just like not the move, I'm really trying to like not sell SerialNine here.
Well, no, but I mean, you can still use those parts and build the car. Because that is, I will say, a big, I always get like, what are your wheel specs? How do your wheels fit? And it's like, well, it doesn't really work if you don't run the arms that I work, like run. Like, even if my car was an auto, regardless, having the fitment.
You don't tell them that, you just let them buy the wheel, and then you're like, you got to buy these arms if you want to fit that wheel.
Yeah. I flat out always tell people to go to I mean, maybe I'm doing it wrong then, but yeah, I'm always like, here's an article I wrote, and here's Gerard working on my car, and here's all the SerialNine stuff. I think that, look, they don't need to be manual. It's great when they are, and that's fun. But I think that is like a very valid point when it's like, so you're buying a 16, there still are things like you said, but you don't need to go right out of the box, because then you quickly go into that don't territory, which is don't buy a car and then put it up on jack stands and have it out of commission while you're like trying to make it something that it fully isn't yet. You're probably better to do the incremental things, which is like buy all the smaller parts, do the maintenance. Maybe the brake lines matter on a 16. I don't know. Never heard that mod described that way before, Gerard. So I appreciate that.
I don't particularly think these 16s have good brake stock, though. The Tour V's actually have good brake stock. They just need better feel, and obviously the brake lines are probably old. But the 16 definitely, when I had the Supra brakes on there, it definitely was much better than the stock brakes.
Good to know. See, these are important things.
I mean, like,
I
what
didn't
about
know
a
about the
different car now?
brakes. You're saying like the Supra brakes and stuff.
Well, I mean, like, that's the
Does
thing
that
too, is I
matter?
wouldn't put Super brakes on it. It's just because Super brakes are so old and they're like kind of hard to find. They're not really that great. They're probably going to cost you $400 or $500. It's like you probably just get some sort of better fucking brake upgrade today. I mean,
Sure.
yeah, the brakes aren't great on it, but that's what I mean. Like, if I look at it as a cruiser, I would just put a bunch of suspension on it, dump it, and like basically make your car, but like it'd just be auto. That because it's a different car, right? Like a Tour V to me is like almost the epitome of like a driver's car from Toyota. So I would do driving type mods, whereas like on the Aristo, it's like a sick ass cruiser. Just dump the seats all the way back and fucking D for done and do burnouts and look sick doing it. That's what I would do.
That's fair.
How
Okay.
about a G35, bro? Well, what are you doing to G35?
Nothing.
How about like a new car?
Sale.
What's a new car that you would consider buying, Kevin? Any new car? How about you're gonna buy? What do you have coming in? You have a GS
Toyota Prius.
430. You had a GS 430 coming in. Is that what
I got a 2023 Toyota Prius.
Good living.
All right.
What am I doing?
2023 Toyota Prius. What are you doing to it?
Honestly, I would do coilovers and wheels. Yeah, exactly.
But that's because the thing's brand new, and that's all you're gonna do is just mod it, right? You're not gonna fucking maintain it or do any shit to it, right?
I'm gonna make it a nice tour cruiser.
And you're basically building like a newer version of the 16 Aristo or the Celsior.
Yeah.
Okay. How about your what do you have? Is it GS 400, GS 430?
Are we just saying that right now so everyone knows?
I mean, I'm not really keeping it a secret, but
okay.
Whatever.
You
have
everyone guess.
Let's just say it's a 3GS. Isn't it?
From the Raptors. Yeah.
Okay. So you have a new Toyota coming in.
I'd like to do coilovers and wheels and call that a build.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds great. I love it.
And then I want to get the biggest wheels possible that are super silly and do a bunch of work to try to make them fit. And maybe make a car that was slightly reminiscent of the Celsior, but actually very low. So that's what I would like to do. So
then don't get the biggest wheels ever then. Just get some moderately big wheels. So
yeah, exactly. But I mean, they still need to be pretty big though.
Yeah.
I'm the most excited about this car.
Coilovers and wheels on it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he hasn't driven it yet, so he doesn't know what it.
I mean, the other thing about Kevin though,
might need maintenance, bro.
He doesn't really care about stuff like that. I remember when I bought those brake lines, he's like, what the fuck are those? Like, why do you have brake lines? And I was just like, yeah, man, I got like brake lines. And he's like, okay, sure.
Kevin is the everyman, though. I feel like most car guys are kind of like that, like Gerard, you're car guy.
For example, if you had a Porsche or a BMW, like let's say you had an M3, an E90, E91 M3, V8, it's like creme de la creme, top shelf, 2010 M3.
Yeah.
What are you doing to that, Kevin?
I'd sell it.
Yeah, like probably nothing. Like, I don't know. Like, what am I going to do to that? Am I going to get like more aggressive wheels, smaller tires, like stiffer coils? Like, am I going to like change the stereo? Like, no, I'm going to do anything. Like,
I mean, there's probably, I guess it's
like, okay, Gerard, what would you do to that? Yeah, exactly. Like, I'd spend $4,000 on putting carbon fiber steering wheel on.
I mean, I would do maintenance
on a brand new car.
That's probably the fucking tons.
I thought you said it was a brand new car.
No, I said it's an E91. That's like a 2010.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it's brand new, I mean, shit. Just driving the piss out of it. Probably put some springs on it and be done with it.
Yeah, so I was like, what would you even do to that car? Like, that's why I was like, yo, it's a brand new BMW.
No, it's like, Chob's M3 and like Dave's M3. Dave Halliburton, Chob. Yeah. Like they're super popular cars right now. Super popular cars.
Yeah, I just like don't care about that car at all. So it's really hard for me to like know, like be
But
like,
you're
oh, this is what
probably
I do.
right.
I probably
It's
wouldn't do anything to
maintenance.
it. Yeah.
Maintenance.
It's a what?
And then
I mean, it's a 4-liter naturally aspirated V8 that revs to $8,000. That's pretty fucking cool.
Sure.
So, yeah. Oh yeah.
And you would just do all the BMW maintenance. And then
I guess I'm trying to engage you because like if you actually like driving, Kevin, like that's a driver's car. So what would you like? Because you're not gonna fucking dump it and make put 10 degrees of camber on it and put stupid fucking wheels on it. Like what would Kevin do to build a driver's car? Is kind of what I was trying to go for.
I don't know. I'd have to drive the car. I feel like, and then I would sleep on it.
And then, in true Kevin form, he would dump it and put stupid fucking wheels on it. Like, let a man paint.
That wouldn't be uncool on an M3. It just would obviously detract from the driver's aspect of it.
Yeah, but it probably already drives so well that it doesn't matter,
Yeah, it'll just overcome that. To look even cooler. It would be like it would only take 5% off the driving, and then who cares? You look cool. How often are you driving that thing 100%? You can take 5% off the top, and it's fine.
You're not wrong. Exactly. It's like going the other way from a Toyota. You know what I'm saying? You're buying a car that drives so well, so you could just fuck it right up to make it look sick, but it still drives better than a Toyota anyways with all the mods on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, maybe that's the move. Buy the race car and then derace it.
And then just fucking put some carbon fiber accents on it or whatever people do and call it a day. Crackle tune right out of the box.
Carbon fiber accents is pretty cool though.
Yeah. It's great. Perfect. Also, we glossed over it. Shift knob and steering wheel are very important, and I waited a very long time to do a steering wheel. And every time I drive my car now, I'm very much like, oh yeah, this is much better. And same with the shift knob. So,
see, that's the thing that like Toyota never has ever done well is the touch points, right? It's like the least they could do in a sporting car is like why don't they have a version of the Tourer V that had Recaro seats? Like what the fuck? And then one was steering wheel. Like what the hell is their problem? They're like, yeah, we're gonna make this sporting sedan, blah blah blah, but let's put a fucking Camry steering wheel in it and some fucking Tercel ass seats. Like their seats.
Because that's not like economically viable, buddy. You
gotta make that money.
That's why Toyota's the most boring fucking car company in the world. You know what I mean? Like maybe now they're getting a bit exciting.
What a sweet blank canvas they are, though.
But
anyway,
like Lancer, Recaros, fucking Nissans. Recaro,
yeah, but that's like the only
Subarus, Recaros, Suzuki's, Recaros.
Aside from the Suzuki, which one of those vehicles do you want to drive? Are you driving a Nissan?
Lancer.
You drive
Nissan. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Are you picking any of those? Any of those? Does the Recaro sell you on it?
I had a Nissan. I had the Stagia.
Yeah, and where is it now? Did it have Recaros in it?
That one didn't because it was the rear-wheel drive model, and that specific model that I chose.
If it had Recaros, would you have kept it?
I didn't. The car got smashed, man. I didn't smash it.
Oh, I'm thinking of the last Stagia. Sorry.
Oh, the last Stagia. Yeah, you're right. The last Stagia was cool too.
Oh, damn.
That had the worst seats I've ever had.
Yeah, those were the worst seats. Period. But I mean, 350Z seats do bolt straight into that. Which theoretically, then you can get the Recaros out of any of the other cars and put them straight in.
Huh. Good. So touch points are important. So I do think that's the thing that people gloss over. Maybe not as much.
I disagree. I think maybe you glossed over it. The first thing a lot of people do is the fucking steering wheel. Seats are expensive.
You don't know a lot of normies. You're just saying a lot of things right now.
I mean, that's
You're
Kevin.
up in your
Kevin, first thing he did was fucking Takata harnesses.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, well, it's Kevin's a special breed. I mean, to be fair, my 180 came with like an aftermarket steering wheel on it. It just wasn't like a good one, but it was fine. It was just old, so it was never a thing. And then Toyotas until I had the Celsior and then I had the Aristo, and never crossed my mind, I guess. Anyway, but it is good. All right. Any other?
It's great. It's great and good.
It's great and good. Any other things? I like the cold hard facts of like actual things. You get a car. What should you do?
You get a car. You get.
You know what I saw today? That was pretty wild.
You put gas in it.
Yeah, you did.
Go on.
Or you're not going nowhere.
I was just driving home today, and a Dodge Ram passed me, and it had.
How you letting that car pass you? Go on.
That's 20, a great question.
Definitely had 24 by 14s. At least 24 by 14s on it. They were fucking so big and so wide. They were at least 6 inches out of the body, and it had like the lowest profile tires I've ever seen on it. And I was like, yo, that's sick. But then I was like,
yeah, that's that weird.
It's one of those things where it's like, yo, what not to do to your first truck, or like what not to do. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, that looks cool and like whatever, but like, am I really going to drop like $5,000 to make my truck drive super shitty and like all have these problems and stuff with the tires?
Yes.
Do you want to be cool and different than everybody else?
You can drop
my truck
even
to tow
more.
My fucking 2-car trailer.
I don't think they're worried about that though. If they have that,
some people do. Some people definitely tow with those things.
Yeah, some people
that's
do.
That's like being like, oh, like, yo, that guy can't even get over a speed bump. It's like, yeah. You know,
no, but what I'm saying is you can tow. I have seen people tow with those like 24 by 14s. Yeah. Whether it's good or safe, I don't know. But I mean,
right. Let's leave that one to the experts. Hey, did you?
But I did think it was cool. But like, you know, I just haven't seen anything of that magnitude.
It does make me think. I'll ask this quickly. Unless there's anything you want to add, if you're buying a car, what you should do? Is there going once?
Going twice.
Very good. Sold. Change the oil. Hey. So SEMA just happened. Did either of you see anything at SEMA that you were like, yo, snap, look what I saw?
No.
Nothing out of the ordinary, no. I honestly didn't really pay so much attention to SEMA this year.
Oh, yeah.
Bunch of nice cars, bunch of nice stuff. It's pretty.
Oh, Gerard, I even sent you a BMW and you were mad about it, which was a weird juxtaposition for us.
Which one?
Nope. I'm upset now that you don't remember our conversations. Very offensive. The one where I was like, yo, look at the setup on this, how they like set it up to be displayed. Because
the M4 GT4 or GTS or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I was impressed by how they displayed the lights on the car. Because I was like, they clearly did it so that you could take like if you took like a certain exposure, it felt like if you took a certain exposure to the car, the picture would turn out amazing. Like they were kind of like light painting the car, like the wheels were being light painted and stuff. And it had a giant light over top, like softbox over the car. And I sent it to Gerard to be like, yo, look at this light setup. And Gerard was just like, I'd never display a car like that.
Yeah, because they had it on air jacks and it was up. And the suspension was so drooped out, Kevin. It wasn't like
I think I even know the photo of the car or the car you're talking about, and I agree.
It literally has like a 1 foot gap between the fender and the wheel. I was like, I would never ever display a car like that.
I don't give a shit about the car. I cared about the light setup. No, I cared about the light setup.
Listen, though, you would never photograph that because it's ugly. That's like saying you have the best.
The lights worked.
The best lighting ever, and you're taking a picture of a fucking clapped out S chassis drift car with painted stock wheels. Nobody gives a fuck how nice your photo is. Nobody gives a fuck how nice the lighting and the thing is, like the backdrop and all that.
I will say I would do it just for me, for the exercise to see how it worked, to like figure it out. Like that to me is it's a puzzle that needed to be solved, and I would want to solve that puzzle for myself. Other than that, no, I didn't see anything at SEMA that I was like, whoa. But you started talking about big trucks, and then obviously you think of trucks that don't have drive shafts in them. And
I saw some pretty stupid like memes. Oh, like look at this one, and it's like it's so stupid already that like if that's what you're trying to get fucking likes and followers on, is you making fun of fucked up trucks at SEMA, like it's pretty lame. It's like you shouldn't even give those trucks your time of day. You know what I'm saying?
Some,
like they're
some low hanging fruit.
Yeah, they're so shitty that like. And honestly, the guy, I don't know if you've seen this, but he has like a puppet and he talks like a dummy. He's like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
And he kept calling it like a tie rod.
Tie rod. When it's the axle, is it not?
Yeah. You saw that one.
It's like you just proved how stupid you are.
Yeah, I don't even want to watch this.
Yeah, someone sent that to me and I was just like, this is,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we agreed on that.
Dummy.
Yeah.
That's good. I didn't even see that. So look, I learned something. Somebody brought a puppet to SEMA, tried to do Triumph, the insult comic dog, and it did not work.
Basically, yeah.
That's too bad.
Anyways.
Well, how about that? Okay, well, hey, we did it. I'm very excited for all of us. Man, you know what? What a time we've had here today. We learned some things, brake lines, steering wheels. Problem solved. Go to SerialNine by the Arcadia wheel, which is great. Hey, are you making a commercial for that thing? Making a commercial for that thing or what?
I mean, we should be, definitely.
Yeah.
I had a broken rib and couldn't drive standard, so that was
cool.
Sounds like quitter talk. Okay, no. Go on. All right. Kevin.
And I'm away this weekend, and Kevin's away next weekend, so we're shooting for sometime in the middle of the week next week.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
There you go. All right.
There you go.
Thanks for joining us on our adventure.
Every time. Thank you for that. Much appreciated.
Well, pork sandwiches.
Ha-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening again, and see you on the next one. Mm-hmm. Peace out. Check out
on the flip side.
Friday.
Bye.
Sales. Lots.
Bye.
40% off. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Serial Podcast 9.